It's winter in Barrow, Alaska, and the entire town is making final preparations for the annual polar night, a chilling natural phenomenon where the sun won't rise for 30 consecutive days. As the final day of daylight fades, many residents are leaving to avoid the upcoming 30 days of darkness, while the rest are settling in to endure it. The town's sheriff, Eben, and his deputy, Billy, are out in the snow, investigating a pile of burnt satellite phones, meaning the town is now completely cut off from communicating with the outside world. Eben's wife, Stella, who works for the Alaska Fire Department, is on her way to catch a flight out of town before the polar night begins. However, she gets into a car accident and calls Eben for help. Eben, however, is occupied and sends Billy to assist her. Billy rushes to drive Stella to the airport, but they arrive too late. The last flight has departed, and the airport is now shut down. Meanwhile, Eben returns to the police station, where his younger brother, Jake, and their grandmother, Helen, who also works there, inform Eben about an incident of vandalism at the utility door, the town's main power and waste management facility. When Eben gets there, he finds his friends Carter and Wilson, who reveal that Wilson's helicopter has been deliberately destroyed, further confirming his suspicion that someone is cutting off all escape routes and communications. Meanwhile, Gus, the town's electrical technician, hears strange noises outside while working. When he steps out with a flashlight to investigate, he's surrounded by some shadowy figures. He tries to run, but it's too late, and the strangers attack him, tear him apart, and drink his blood. Elsewhere, a mysterious man enters a local diner and demands raw meat and liquor. When the waitress refuses, he becomes aggressive. Both Eben and Stella are there and intervene. As the man grows increasingly violent, Eben arrests him and takes him back to the station and locks him in a cell. Meanwhile, 3 young workers from the oil refinery are walking home when one of them is suddenly dragged into a dark alley. The others are confused until their friend's bloody corpse is thrown back at them. The girl flees in terror, while the other man freezes in horror. Back at the station, Eben tries questioning the strange man, but he remains silent. Suddenly, all electronics fail, including the phones. The man cryptically warns Eben to hide, warning him that they're coming. But Eben dismisses him, and shortly after, the town's power goes out completely. Eben heads to Gus's office to check on the blackout and finds a bloody trail in the snow. Following it, he discovers Gus's severed head. He rushes back to town and urges everyone to stay indoors. At the station, the prisoner attacks Jake, but Eben arrives just in time and shoots the attacker in the arm. He suspects the man knows more about what's happening, but the prisoner refuses to talk. Eben and Stella then set out to find answers themselves. Along the road, Stella sees something through binoculars and urges Eben to get back in the car. As they drive off, a man jumps on the vehicle. Eben shoots it repeatedly, to no effect. Finally, Stella manages to knock it off the car, and they escape. They soon receive a distress call from the station, and Helen is screaming for help. When they return, they find the station covered in blood. Helen and Jake are missing, but the strange man is still locked in his cell. He cryptically tells Eben that they don't want him, and begs to be killed. A few townspeople gather in the diner to discuss what they're facing. The vampires finally reveal themselves in full, terrifying pale creatures with inhuman teeth and eyes. The vampire leader, Marlowe, speaks an unfamiliar language and commands his followers to slaughter everyone. Eben and Stella rush to the diner and find survivors hiding inside. Eben leads the group to an attic in a nearby house, hoping they can hide there undetected. While the others remain hidden, he and Stella go out to scavenge for weapons, but are ambushed. The vampires flip Eben's car and try to drag Stella out. Just when all seems lost, a man named Barrow arrives, plowing through the vampires with a bulldozer and saving their lives. Eben and Stella escape with Barrow's help and return to the attic to regroup with the others. They hear the screams of townspeople being slaughtered outside, but remain hidden. Eben suggests waiting a few days, then making a run to the store for food, and eventually relocating to the utility door for safety. Meanwhile, Marlowe approaches the mysterious man locked in the cell and thanks him for completing the task. Immediately after, Marlowe violently snaps the man's neck and kills him. Back in the attic, the group agrees to take turns sleeping, ration their remaining food, and hold off on making any concrete plans for the time being. They remain hidden in the attic for 6 days. On the 7th day, they see a girl outside crying for help. Eben quickly realizes it's a trap when he spots vampires lurking on the rooftops. Despite the danger, he steps outside to save her, but can only watch in horror as she's tortured and ultimately killed by the vampires. As Eben turns to head back, he hears someone call his name. It's John, hiding nearby. Eben tries to help him, but John attacks. He's already turned into a vampire after being infected while trying to save his wife. John tries to bite Eben, but Eben is left with no choice and decapitates him with an axe. Eben then returns to the attic and falls asleep. While he rests, Wilson's elderly father, who suffers from dementia, starts muttering about his dead wife and tries to leave to find her. Despite Stella and Wilson's attempts to calm him, the old man escapes through a window. Wilson rushes outside to search for him, ignoring Stella's pleas to stay safe indoors. Eben is awakened by the noise, and suddenly, a vampire enters the house. He and Stella hide as the creature searches for them. Wilson, shouting from outside, distracts the vampire, who leaves and kills Wilson instead. Eben and Stella use the opportunity to return to the attic. 18 more days pass in the attic. Their food has run out, and everyone is emotionally and physically drained. They agree to wait for a snowstorm to attempt an escape. Luckily, on the 19th day, a heavy snowstorm begins, and they head toward the store for supplies. Upon arrival, they begin gathering food and essential supplies. But as they prepare to leave, they realize the storm has already passed, and now they are exposed and trapped inside the store. With few options, they decide their next destination should be the utility room in the police station, which is more secure. Stella theorizes that the vampires are active because of the polar night and cannot tolerate sunlight. This reminds Jake of a UV lamp his grandmother used for growing plants. Eben volunteers to run to his grandmother's house and use the UV lamp to distract and weaken the vampires so the others can escape to safety. Armed with an axe, he runs out, yelling to draw the vampires' attention. As they chase him, the rest head for the police station. At Jake's grandmother's house, Eben powers up the generator and prepares the UV light. The vampires gather outside, and Marlowe orders his girlfriend Iris to go inside and kill Eben. As Iris breaks into the house, Eben blasts her with the UV light, severely burning her face. Realizing the vampires will shut down the generator, Eben escapes through the back door. The vampires pursue him, but Marlowe stays with Iris and, seeing her in agony, kills her to end her suffering. Back with the group, Brower steps up to sacrifice himself. He gets into his bulldozer, crashes into a nearby building to draw the vampires, and then causes a massive explosion, killing himself and several vampires. Now, only 5 survivors remain, with enough supplies to last until sunrise. On the 27th day, they spot someone signaling them from a nearby house. Eben and Stella go to investigate and are shocked to find Billy inside. Billy confesses that, in a moment of despair, he killed his wife and daughters but couldn't take his own life as his gun failed. Despite the shocking revelation, they take him back to their hideout. But when they return, the hideout is empty and everyone is gone. Assuming the others move to the utility room, the trio heads that way. Halfway there, Stella spots a little girl wandering alone in the snow. A vampire is silently approaching her from behind. Despite Eben warning her to stay focused, Stella rushes to save the child. The vampire notices and begins chasing them. Eben orders Stella and Billy to run with the girl while he distracts the vampire, and they each scatter in different directions. Eben makes it to the utility room, but Billy and Stella are nowhere in sight. Billy eventually arrives, but a vampire follows and bites Billy's neck. The two men fight back desperately, eventually managing to kill the vampire by forcing him into a meat grinder. During the struggle, Billy's hand gets mangled and torn off. Realizing Billy has been bitten, Eben is again forced to kill a friend. The 30th night arrives, the final night before sunrise. If they can survive just a few more hours, they'll be free. While others begin to celebrate, Eben spots Marlowe and the remaining vampires gathering. Marlowe declares that their secret to survival has always been leaving no trace. To preserve that secrecy, he orders them to burn the entire town to the ground. Eben thinks Stella is dead, but hears her voice through the walkie-talkie. She's alive, hiding under a car with the little girl. The vampires begin breaking the oil pipelines, and the fuel is slowly creeping towards Stella's hiding place. Eben realizes that if Stella runs, the vampires will catch her, and if she stays, she'll be burned alive. In a desperate last resort, Eben draws Billy's infected blood into a syringe and injects himself, knowing it will turn him into a vampire. As his transformation begins, The others prepare to kill him out of fear, but Jake stops them. Eben says goodbye to his brother and goes outside to face Marlowe. After an intense and brutal battle, Eben manages to kill Marlowe. With their leader gone, the remaining vampires retreat in fear. Finally, the sun rises and the survivors emerge to safety. Eben and Stella sit together, watching the sunrise like he promised. As the sunlight hits Eben's body, he begins to burn. Stella holds him tightly in her arms as he slowly turns to ash. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button and join the club.